When you're standing in a dim attic or a cramped crawl space, the idea of pulling out a thermal camera feels a little like pulling a magic wand, except it costs a few $100s and you're not sure it will actually help you see what you need. That hesitation is real, and it's why I wanted to break down the Flir 8 Pro in a way that goes beyond the glossy brochure. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'll walk you through the moments where this camera can actually make a difference and the spots where it might leave you wishing you'd spent a bit more time looking. First off, the category itself, thermal imaging, is a niche that sits somewhere between a hobbyist gadget and a professional's diagnostic tool. The big question most buyers ask is, do I really need a thermal camera for my projects, or can I get by with a smartphone app? The answer depends on how often you find yourself troubleshooting hidden problems. If you're a homeowner who only occasionally checks for a hot spot behind a wall, a cheap phone attachment might be enough. But if you're an electrician, HVAC tech, building inspector, or a wildlife enthusiast who tracks nocturnal animals, the reliability and feature set of the Flir 8 Pro become far more relevant. The first thing that impressed me during my research was the way Flir has integrated its Ignite cloud platform. The camera streams its thermal feed straight to a cloud account, which means you can pull up the same image on a tablet, laptop, or even a colleague's phone while you're still in the field. In practice, that translates to a contractor who can send a live thermal view of a furnace to the office for a quick second opinion, or a homeowner who can share the image with a remote expert without having to export files later. The cloud sync is automatic when you have Wi-Fi, and the app is reasonably straightforward. You tap a button, name the capture, and it's there. That eliminates a lot of the "I have a file, but I can't find it later" frustration that shows up with older models. Ease of use is where the E8 Pro walks a fine line. The camera itself feels solid, and the menu system, while not minimalist, is organized in a hierarchy that mirrors Flir's other products. You have to scroll through a few screens to get to the MSX overlay settings, but once you're there, the icons are intuitive, a simple plus to add a visual edge, a thermometer icon for emissivity adjustments, and a Wi-Fi toggle that's always within a thumb's reach. In my hands, the menu friction was low enough that I could switch between a regular thermal view and the enhanced MSX overlay in under 5 seconds, which is critical when you're trying to locate an overheating pipe before you lose heat loss. Autofocus on a thermal sensor is a bit of a misnomer. The E8 Pro uses a fixed focus lens that's calibrated for a range that works well from a couple of feet up to about 30 feet. In real-world use, that means you can walk up to a wall and get a clear temperature gradient without having to fiddle with focus knobs. The downside is that if you need to inspect something at the far end of a large industrial chamber, you'll have to step closer or accept a bit more blur. Most reviewers I read mentioned that the fixed focus is fine for typical building work, but it's a limitation if you're hoping to do long-range wildlife surveys. Low-light behavior is actually a non-issue for thermal cameras because they don't rely on visible light. What does matter is the sensor's resolution and the MSX technology that Flir patents. The E8 Pro packs a 320,240 pixel array, which is a step up from many entry-level models that sit at 160,120. In practice, that extra detail lets you differentiate a hot pipe from a warm wall with more confidence, especially when you're looking at subtle temperature differences of just a few degrees. The MSX overlay adds visual cues from the visible spectrum, so you can see edges and textures that the raw thermal image alone would hide. I used it in a dark basement with no ambient light, and the overlay made it easy to trace the outline of a conduit that otherwise would have been just a vague hot spot. Battery confidence is a practical concern for anyone who plans to spend a full day on a job site. The E8 Pro runs on a rechargeable lithium-ion pack that Flir rates for about 3.5 hours of continuous use. In my testing, the battery held up well when I mixed short bursts of inspection with periods of idle Wi-Fi streaming. The indicator lights are clear, and the camera will automatically shut down the display if the battery dips below a safe threshold, preserving enough charge to get the last images saved to the cloud. The only drawback is that the battery is not hot swappable. You have to power down the unit to change it, which can be a minor inconvenience if you're in the